Today is Friday, February 11th. We're sharing new details about how Russia's military is training for war and how the U.S. and other Western nations are responding. Also, what's being called one of the most significant workplace reforms in history. Plus, a safety update for a new Apple product. Which subscription service company is making a comeback after very publicly failing years ago? And how this year's Super Bowl could be unlike any other. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Thousands of Russian troops are now holding massive drills in what could be the largest military exercises since the Cold War. They're happening in Belarus, on the borders of Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania, all of whom are U.S. allies. Russia's military released a video that showed Russian tanks crossing snowy fields, soldiers firing weapons, jet fighters taking off in formation, and missile systems deployed. Some military analysts say this could be a sign Russia plans to launch an attack from several directions, making it tougher for Ukraine, in particular, to defend itself. But Russia says this military activity is only happening in response to a threat from the West, since NATO will not make a commitment to stay out of Eastern Europe. Ukraine launched its own military exercises in response, involving drones and anti-tank weapons sent to them by NATO countries. And the U.S. Navy sent 4 more destroyers to Europe for more drills with NATO allies. Still, the U.S., NATO, and even Russia have said it's not too late to reach a diplomatic resolution before things get violent. Most recently, foreign policy advisors from Germany, France, Russia, and Ukraine held nearly 9 hours of talks in Berlin, but they reportedly made no progress. The U.S. and allies, like the U.K., have been warning Russia could face massive consequences if it were to invade Ukraine. But Russia now says it will not stand for ultimatums or lectures. Then, in an interview with NBC News, President Biden again called on any Americans in Ukraine to leave as soon as possible. As he put it, quote, "We're dealing with one of the largest armies in the world," and he said, "Things could go crazy quickly." To be continued. This week, the Biden administration rolled out a plan to send states $5 billion for electric vehicle chargers. It's part of the bipartisan infrastructure package that passed in Congress last year. And this new plan aims to tap all the money for the EV charging stations over the next 5 years. It gives priority to interstate highways and fast chargers before expanding into remote rural and crowded urban areas. The federal government has already chosen many locations for the charging stations, but states can ask to adjust or expand them. Stations will have to be installed every 50 miles, no more than 1 mile off the interstate. This whole plan does depend on states, though, since it'll be up to each one to request the money and to pitch in. The federal funding can support only 80% of the cost of these stations. All of this is crucial since, remember, President Biden wants at least half of all new cars sold in the U.S. to be zero-emissions models by the year 2030. Congress passed a new bill that will change up a lot of employment contracts. It bans any rules that force victims of sexual assault and harassment to pursue their cases in forced arbitration. So that basically means instead of taking a case to a criminal court, victims have to agree to a private proceeding instead to settle disagreements. Well, not anymore. Workers will have a choice to settle it in arbitration or in court. And this change was overwhelmingly passed with bipartisan votes in both the House and Senate, and President Biden says he plans on signing it too. So all new contracts will not be able to include that stipulation when it comes to sexual harassment and abuse cases. And the measure is also retroactive. So that means any forced arbitration clause for those types of cases already in a signed contract is now void. The U.S. Chamber of Congress brought up concerns, though. Last year, it pointed out that arbitration is still fair, effective, and less expensive as compared to going to court. And some critics worry it'll lead to more frivolous lawsuits. Either way, it's on track to become law, and supporters call it the most significant response to the Me Too movement to date. The CDC is proposing new guidelines for treating pain, specifically when it comes to opioid painkillers. And these are the first revisions to the CDC's prescribing guidelines in 6 years. Last time, they included strict limits on opioid doses, no matter what. And even though they led to a nationwide drop in opioid prescriptions, they got backlash from chronic pain patients and pain medicine specialists. So now the CDC is removing those limits, and instead it's encouraging doctors to use their best judgment. Also, it recommends doctors try non-opioid therapies first, like over-the-counter medications, physical therapy, massage, and acupuncture. The CDC document warns of several dangers associated with opioids like addiction, breathing issues, and more. But it also says the drugs do serve an important medical purpose, especially if they ease the agony from especially traumatic injuries. The recommendations are not final just yet, though. They are open to public comment for the next couple of months. Then the CDC will review those comments and most likely issue a final version by the end of the year. Even then, the recommendations are just that, suggestions, not mandatory for doctors to follow. All right, we have more news just ahead, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. There are certain times of the year that cause me to reflect more than usual, and the new year is one of those times. I think talking with a therapist is one of the best ways to figure out what, big or small, may be holding me back from being my happiest and reaching my goals. And BetterHelp makes it more convenient than ever. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Then you can start communicating in under 24 hours, and you can send your counselor a message anytime. Of course, you always connect in a safe and private online environment. The service is available for clients worldwide. It's not self-help, it's professional counseling that is both convenient and affordable. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Again, that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. The entire NFL season comes down to this, Super Bowl 56. It'll be the Los Angeles Rams and Cincinnati Bengals duking it out for eternal glory this Sunday at SoFi Stadium near LA. It's expected to be a great matchup. Both are number 4 seed teams, and both quarterbacks were number 1 draft picks. The Bengals are fighting for their very first Super Bowl win in history, and if they get it, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow will have the infamous Triple Crown. He has already won the College Football National Championship, the Heisman Trophy, and if he wins the Super Bowl, that would make 3. Meanwhile, the Rams lost in the Super Bowl in 2019 to the Patriots, and this season had to beat Tom Brady and the defending champion Buccaneers to get here. But there can only be one to get the Super Bowl ring. And even if you're not into football, between the halftime extravaganza and the iconic commercials, there's definitely something for everyone. There are tons of star-studded ads, including reprisals of classic characters from Austin Powers and Cable Guy. And the halftime show will feature Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar. So when and how can you catch all the action? It'll be broadcast live on NBC and Telemundo from SoFi Stadium. You can also watch it live streamed on Peacock. Kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Apple says it's stepping up security, making it harder for people to track its AirTags. The smart Bluetooth tracking devices first debuted last year with a lot of hype. They were advertised as a harmless tool to help keep track of things like car keys and wallets. But some of the excitement about AirTags has been overshadowed by privacy concerns with reports of stalking and car thefts. So now Apple is adding more safety features for those gadgets, like letting a person know sooner if their AirTag is being tracked. Right now, it takes between 8 to 24 hours to chirp when it's been separated from its owner. Apple also said it's adding a feature called precision finding that shows iPhone users if unknown AirTags are nearby. So if a stranger is using their AirTag to track you, like on your car, for example, you'll get a notification. And people will now be able to disable AirTags by removing the battery. But the changes won't go into effect until Apple puts out its update for its iOS software, and the company has not yet said when that will be. Remember MoviePass? You know, the subscription movie ticket service that was once wildly popular, but ultimately did not have a sustainable business model and failed a couple of years ago. Well, it's coming back. The company plans to relaunch this summer. The new version of MoviePass will not offer unlimited movies for just $10 a month like it used to. Instead, it'll have a tiered subscription service, so customers can buy credits to then redeem for movie showings. The most popular movies at prime times will cost more credits, while a matinee showing of a less popular film, for example, will take fewer credits. The company has not yet said how much the credits cost or what the difference in the tiers will be, but the CEO is also showing off another way customers can earn credits. They can watch ads and have their eyes tracked. Seriously. It's a feature called Pre-Show, and to make sure the customers are actually watching the ads, the app will track their eyes. But the CEO was quick to defend the feature against any privacy concerns. He said it's your phone using your own facial detection, and it does not go to the cloud or anything like that. And of course, you opt in to do this. Hitmaker Sting struck a deal with Universal to sell his entire music catalog for a reported $300 million. That includes the hits he made with The Police and by himself. Think classics like Every Breath You Take, Fields of Gold, and Message in a Bottle, among many others. An exec at Universal called Sting a songwriting genius whose music permeates global culture. He's joining a wave of other older, high-profile artists cashing in on their music rights like Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. New York Fashion Week kicks off today, and fashionistas will no doubt be donning accessories, including masks, because they're mandatory. It's part of the event's strict COVID-19 protocols. So is proof of vaccination and COVID-19 tests for those who have not gotten boosted. Plus, smaller crowds at the catwalk. People can count on designers like Michael Kors and Carolina Herrera to present their latest creations live. A few, like Badgley Mischka, will do digital releases. New York is just the start of the industry's busiest season. After this, fellow fashion capitals like London, Milan, and Paris will host their in-person shows. And that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a message from our sponsor. I always look forward to getting a new KiwiCo crate at my door for my son Dax. KiwiCo does the legwork for us parents, so we don't need to spend our time researching what to buy and if it's safe and age-appropriate, but instead we can enjoy super fun hands-on projects with our children. Because with KiwiCo, each crate is made for your child's age and development, and there's something for all ages. Some of our baby's favorite toys are from the KiwiCo crates that we've gotten so far, and I'm really excited for him to do more projects as he gets older. If you're not familiar already, KiwiCo delivers enriching hands-on experiences that'll spark curiosity and inspire creativity. Kids can discover the engineering and mechanics behind everyday objects, the science and chemistry of cooking, geography and culture from new cultures, and brand new art and design techniques, and more. Older kids, like my niece, also love getting something in the mail that is just for them. Redefine learning with play. Explore hands-on projects that build creative confidence and problem-solving skills with KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with the code newsworthy at kiwico.com. That's 50% off your first month at KIWICO, kiwico.com with the promo code newsworthy. Now back to Feel Good Friday. The head of the NFL and some Los Angeles team owners say they're dedicating Super Bowl 56 to getting local kids more space to play. It's called the Park on the Move program. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and owners of the Rams and Chargers promoted it yesterday in Inglewood, California. That's where SoFi Stadium is, home of this year's big game. They called the new program the sports version of an ice cream truck. It features oversized vans stacked with a skate park, basketball hoops, soccer nets, and other sporting equipment. It's even going to have a staff of coaches and mentors riding along. They'll travel to places where parks are hard to find. The league has been criticized for having $5 billion SoFi Stadium built in an area that struggles with poverty, so they say this is their way of trying to give back to their communities. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode talking all about 2022 trends and data for dating and relationships ahead of Valentine's Day next week. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend.